I am happy to be here. I am honored and enthusiastic to join the ADEA family. I am excited about the opportunities that this position offers, particularly to be able to steer ADEA to higher heights. It's a nice feeling to be back home within the education family after being away for a year. And I feel that I have come back to where my passion is, leading in an organization like ADEA in education. I consider some key challenges that we need to be very mindful of that hinders progress in education, and I'll touch on three. One of them is looking at the quality of learning. Going to school has not necessarily translated into quality learning in schools. That is very important for us to acknowledge and for us to make sure that we move beyond just numbers, but look at the qualitative aspect of things. The second important aspect is the issue of girls' education. This is a big challenge for the African continent, particularly as the population of the African continent is 50% of women, and yet the education of girls going to school, particularly from the ages of 10 to 18, transitioning between secondary education and tertiary education, has not been so progressive. And it's important that we ensure we get more women and more girls into tertiary and higher education and into skills and into the curriculum that looks beyond just the soft components, looking at the hard components of ICT, the hard sciences, and so on and so forth. We also need to look at skills and training for employability that is relevant for Africans by Africans, that resonates within the African continent. We have been able to immerse our youths and even ourselves into learning for white-collar jobs. But we need to make sure that we support our youths to go into areas that helps them to seek jobs, or to be able to be self-employed, or to be able to be self-sustaining. This is critical, and it's important for Africa's sustainable development. ADEA is an organization that is unique in the sense that it is the only organization that does what it does. ADEA is a forum in which links the education agenda with our member states. It's a catalyst for our partners, our implementing partners, strategic partners, and our funding partners. And ADEA brings together all these actors together to be able to look at what is important and what is relevant for our African member states. At the same time, ADEA also provides a link between the African Union to ensure that a lot of our work that we do in the education sector provides the necessary results that is required. In essence, what it does is we are like the global monitoring report of the African continent, and the African Union relies on ADEA to make sure that we become the outlook for ensuring that education progresses and that it looks at the relevance of education for Africa. I think what is important is for us to also acknowledge that there are lots of expectations for us in ADEA by our partners and within ourselves as well in the ADEA family. And most importantly is looking at the leadership, the vision. Where do we want to take ADEA? What are the next steps for ADEA moving forward? That's one component. The next one is also looking at the value added. Looking at the area of results, returns in investment. I think we owe it to become more accountable, both upwards and downwards, to the beneficiaries that we support, but also to our partners and to the governments in which we work as catalysts and as partners. it is also important for us within education, within ADEA, that we acknowledge that we have to take the leading role in the education agenda in Africa. ADEA has been doing that, but I think it needs to do more. We have in the past been providing policy dialogue, but we need to move beyond that. We need to ensure that these dialogues are translated into actual action plans on the ground. We need to look at ways of how we operationalize the policy dialogues that happen at one level and make sure that at the other level it becomes a reality. It is important, and these are things that I think all the actors and the stakeholders within ADEA expect of ADEA. I think in a nutshell, it is important for us to acknowledge that we are all in this together. There can be no sustainable development in Africa in the absence of education. We need to make sure that we have both African girls and boys on board the African education agenda. We need to make sure that we equally all play a key role. We need to make sure that we take ownership of our education within our own continent. We need to support our partners, our allies, to make sure that we push the education agenda in the African continent.